I do want to welcome you. It is Motivation Monday. Again, today's January 28th, 2019. I am Robert Freeman. I am the NATJen Medicare trainer, but I'm also doing training and sales technique trainings for all of our sister entities, including AHCP as one of our primary entities. You guys are an amazing group of people, and I really thoroughly enjoy working with everybody that's here. Today's quote of the day, a very, very pertinent quote for what we're going to dive into, especially because of what everyone here does themselves, is the quote today is, don't sell insurance, sell what the insurance can do. And you know, that basically does speak for itself. And you don't really want to necessarily just sell the product. You want to sell what that product's going to do for your individual clients and your customer base. And that's really what we're going to be diving into today when we get into today's sales technique. It's not necessarily that the product itself is there, because everybody knows that we're here to sell insurance, and they already know ahead of time that, you know, they're going to be buying an insurance product, but what they want to know is what that product is going to do for them. And I think that today it's really going to open up some minds in regards to what a product can actually do for an individual on a basis as far as the Medicare field is concerned, as far as supplements versus, you know, maybe even what that differs as far as an advantage, and why is supplements actually a really, really good option for anybody that's in the Medicare field. And, you know, I don't want to necessarily make everybody think that I will always focus on Medicare. I definitely will not. It is my primary directive in life. Let's say shall we say at this moment. However, that's not to say that, you know, as the months and the weeks and the months go on, that we're not going to be diving into some different sales topics as well. You know, we're still kind of wrapping up the Medicare season in general. I mean, AEP did end back in December, but, you know, as far as the beginning of January was concerned, we did jump back into what was previously known as the Medicare Advantage disenrollment season. But, you know, we've got a really kind of a new directive per CMS right now with the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period. You know, so what we're in right now is almost at the midway point where, you know, individuals that had previously been on a Medicare Advantage plan can make a change if they want to, or, you know, if they really don't like that Medicare Advantage plan, they can drop back into original Medicare. And what's nice about that, though, is when they go back into that original Medicare field, that's when those supplements really come into play, is where you can really kind of just start bundling and making them see that, you know, this is not necessarily something that I'm just trying to push on you and sell on you, but this is something that's really going to benefit you, you know, as an individual as far as your health needs are concerned. So what we're going to do here real quick is a brief recap of the way that the Motivation Monday series works. We're going to do a real quick run through of what's been new and what we've kind of been doing some changes on. And then we're going to get into the new enhanced update and reminder section. And this is a section that I'm really, really excited about as the weeks go forward. And in the fact that, you know, these updates and these reminders are something that's, you know, you might see them in your email every day. You know, you might just really kind of scan through them. But, you know, as the week starts, it's kind of a really good thing to kind of just have, you know what, here's a quick update and here's a reminder of what was done over the prior week, or, you know, here's the hot button topic items for this week. So it's really a really good thing to kind of get off on a good foot for the week, to put those high touch point items out there right in front of you so that you can just really get a good grasp on those as the week goes on. What we'll do then real quick is we'll go through the sales leaders and some kudos for the week. And some real good news is that, I know that you might have missed me last Monday, and I was really disappointed that we didn't have a Motivation Monday, but every once in a while we do deserve a holiday off, right? Especially after, the whole holiday season itself coming into the play. And then at that point, with the holiday season, what we can actually do at that point is we'll actually go through both weeks' sales leaders, and we'll do the kudos for both weeks. And I just want to make sure that we highlight each of those individuals for both weeks so that nobody feels left out. And then last but not least, we'll actually jump into those sales techniques for the week and really kind of show you what those tips and those techniques for that Medicare supplement field is going to really all be about, and how you can actually utilize that to benefit each of your individual clients if they were to decide to do that disenrollment / open enrollment period change. So, like I said, real quick, what's new? So what's new is like I mentioned before, you guys' feedback and our feedback has just been amazing. What it's actually resulted in is a really new, clean looking format so that it's really going to be easily focusing on the materials and focusing on actually the content that we're going to be doing and actually looking at each week. Now, that's not to say that I don't want to have feedback to stop. I really, really enjoy it. I love the feedback. Keep it coming. Everybody's topics and everybody's suggestions have been amazing. What that's leading to is some really good in-demand sales techniques and tips, being that, this week's is going to be about supplements based. That's going to be something that's really pertinent to the season right now and really how you guys can benefit, your individual clients or your group clients. And then, of course, look for more changes to come, as the weeks do roll on. Not to say that there's going to be huge content or format changes per se, but, those little tweaks are going to be what really kind of molds and forms this into what I like to dub as Motivation Monday 2.0. And, as the weeks and months roll on, this is really going to be turning into something that's just going to be, I really want you all to look forward to this every Monday morning. I'm excited to broadcast this every week, and I hope that you're excited to join me. So on that note, let's go into what this week's updates and reminders are. Right. So what I've actually been doing each week is previously this session had been really, or this section rather, had been really small and just kind of a real quick run through of some updates. But, it's really come to the attention that these are really important areas to focus on. So, for example, 1099s, within the 1099 world, this is going to be something that's going to be very important for everybody. So, you probably saw the email and you might have seen the notification on ahcpsales.com as far as under the sections for the blog sections are concerned. But the 1099s are going to be available in each center very, very soon for the previous tax year. So make sure, in order to receive those 1099s that you log on into eAgent Center to verify your tax info. If you do need assistance locating the information, if you go and hunt down through your email, there is a hyperlink within inside of there that you can click on, and that'll get you some help with getting the assistance. However, if your tax status or even the contact information, which is super important to have updated, has changed in any way, there is a form on there that you're going to want to download, which is the W-9 form. Go ahead and download that and give the updates and then return it to the contracting team no later than today, which is January 28th. So today is really kind of the cutoff, and that's why I really wanted to highlight that today, since today is really kind of the last day for that as far as getting those changes in as far as your tax status and contact information. And of course, if you have any questions, always reach out to the Amazing Agency Services team. That's just upstairs from me here. They do an outstanding job for everybody. So if you have questions or if you have any issues here with your 1099 specifically, definitely give that 877 number a call. So if you joined me a couple weeks back, we actually highlighted the fact that the NATJen product introduced 4 new states. Those states were Kansas, Montana, South Dakota, and Tennessee. So that actually brings the total to 27 states now. Now, not to say that this product wasn't already outstanding before, but just the inclusion of those 4 new states is just really kind of making this an amazing, well-rounded out product. So the quoting and the sales for those states are going to be effective as of January 15th, which was about, 13 days ago or so, and that's going to be for your February 1st effective dates and later. So the new brochures have already dropped. If you go to the ngah-ngic.com site, those brochures are there for your availability, so you can download those. There are state-specific. There is, of course, the general brochure, but there are, of course, the state-specific brochures in there as well. And then a new Medicare supplement dropdown was really added, which I was playing around with over the weekend while I was getting the PowerPoint together. Sweet tool. I give real good props to the NGAH team for the update of their site on this. It's really kind of simplified the whole process. There's basically a dropdown where you can look at the general brochure, and then they have state-specific brochures as you go down the list. Really, really simplifies things for everybody. Just make note that South Dakota is going to continue to use the generic brochure, and that Kansas, Montana, and Tennessee, those are actually going to be state specific. Now, they are going to be notifying of the availability as of January 15th. So if you haven't already gotten that notification, take a look at your emails. But this is going to be your kind of reminder and update on that as well too. Just wanted to really highlight that again since we had a little bit of a break. Now, On that same note, though, the nice thing about this, though, is that the NATJen team has some amazing bonuses and outstanding opportunities to make some really good cash out there. So what's happening here, again, to reiterate, the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period is ongoing right now, and that's going to be all the way through the end of March 31st. So what that means is that we have a couple different bonus and sprints that are happening right now with the NATJen team. So there's one of them where if you actually sell anywhere from 3 to 9 Medicare supplement policies that month, you're going to get $100 per policy. If you look at that up to 20 plus, 150 per policy. That's some really, really good cash. I don't know about you, but I've got those Christmas debts piling up and those bills that are needing to be paid off for the end of the year. I could use an extra 100 up to 150 per policy without a doubt. On that same front, though, there's a secondary one. So if any of y'all are just already kind of sick of the cold, and I know that we have agents stretched out across the United States, and I don't know how many of you are really kind of positioned up in that Midwest area. I know a lot of us are kind of down in the Southwest, the Texas area, but that Midwest, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota area, they've got that wonderful polar vortex coming down that I think I'm hearing something like temperatures down to 60 below zero, just ridiculous numbers that I'm seeing. But 60 below zero doesn't have anything on Cabo. So what you want to do is get out there and push those NATJen Medicare supplement products. And what you can do in that aspect is with the bonuses, they're actually allowing you to get ready and go to the beach. Now, the nice thing about that is that this promo is happening from 10/1 of 18 last year all the way through the end of this year, December 31st, 2019. So if you sell 100 or more Medicare sub policies with NATJen, they're going to send you to Cabo San Lucas. Now, again, if you sell 100 of them, they're going to send you to Cabo. Now, if you sell 150 of those bad boys, they're going to send you and a guest to Cabo. I'd always love to bring my wife, my significant other, with me on that. So, just pushing a couple bit more of those during this last few months season here is going to get you that trip to Cabo with you and your and a guest. Now, if you are the top selling writing agent overall, they're going to send you and a guest and, your wife, whoever you want to bring in that aspect, or your favorite kid at that point, maybe leave the wife at home. You and your guest are going to be upgraded to a wonderful private suite. That's just some really, really sick opportunities there to get to the beach. Now, I'm sure that everybody's already sick of the cold as it is. I mean, I'm here in Oregon and we have generally pretty mild winters, but it's been pretty cold the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to be traveling to the Midwest here in about a week from now, and just wonderful timing that the vortex has to come down during that period. So let's get everybody, as many people as we can, to Cabo. The numbers that I'm seeing out there are outstanding. Don't see any reason. There's a lot of us that are really kind of on the cusp of that to just getting there. Go ahead and push those really hard as the end of the season comes. So quick reminder here, you can always go to ahcpsales.com, click on that blog link. And what's nice about it is the blog link will actually give you some really good updated articles. For example, one of the things this week, one of the week's feature stories in the blog post goes over what co-payments are and how they're facilitated. So I really encourage you to take a look at this really super insightful blog post area. Regardless of any level of understanding on how co-pays are facilitated, this article, I read it myself, and I've been in the Medicare and the insurance industry for 15, almost 20 years now, and it helped me even understand a little bit more. So it's some really, really good materials that in there to get you a good understanding on how the co-pays are facilitated. It'll give you a really good in-depth breakdown analysis of how they work and how the payments are distributed and more. So, check that out, and, check out the other blog posts that are in there. Some really, really good articles and materials that are in there. On that same note, just a little bit left of that blog post in there is actually a link for the training library portion. You can actually hit the training link and see what's upcoming as far as live trainings are concerned. Right underneath that, though, if you click on the blue link to sign in to access the training library, what you can do is you can actually utilize that to look at all of the pre-recorded training videos for our Motivation Mondays. You can actually look at the videos for our product trainings that we do, which we recently did the Timber Ridge series for Colorado Bankers Life last week. An amazing product training that you went to. You've got all your Alira healthcare information on there. Things like going through the leads portal, the general agent center, United Healthcare, a lot of really good product trainings in there. And of course, a lot of information as far as just sales help in general. We've got, I've watched Joe Sugarman's video a couple times now. I love it. It's really some good content that's in here. Really shows you how to get organized for things like open enrollment, you know, how to close and why to close on the first call. So I really encourage you to not only just take a look at that training link to, you know, to check out what's upcoming live, but to also, when you have a free moment, to go through those training areas and just take a look at the information that's in there. Some really, really amazing content that, you know, our training team and previous leaders have put together. So definitely encourage you to take a look at that. So moving on, we're going to jump into our sales leaders and kudos for the week. Again, we do have 2 weeks worth of content to go through here. Now, as far as the carrier leaders for the month, I'm just going to go and kind of generally give a basic overview. On our accident side, our limited med side, you know, NHIC is out there just killing it. The product speaks for itself. I know that you would agree, so I have no, you know, reason why I wouldn't be able to see the NATJen team there up in the top with their product. It's an amazing product. On the short-term side, you know, we've got Golden Rule and NHIC just kind of neck and neck. They kind of pop back and forth each week, but some really good pushes there on the short-term med side. Now, on the Medicare side, a lot of activity going on. And I know that a lot of you are new in the Medicare field, or if you've been doing it for a long time, you know, United Healthcare is really, as far as the month is concerned, on top right now, but Aetna, Humana, Cigna, they're all in there doing some really, really strong work. Our Medicare numbers right now are outstanding. The amount of growth that I've seen in the Medicare field over the last, just even over the last 6 to 8 months has been amazing. I mean, we are seeing double and triple the amounts of numbers from prior years. So if you haven't already thought about it again, you know, just kind of shameless plugs for my training aspect, Medicare is a really good thing to look into now, especially with the way that the health insurance market is going right now. And last but not least, of course, on the dental front, you know, Golden Rule and NHIC are just really kind of fighting it out there on top. Now, sales leaders for the week. Now, first week that we're going to dive into was last week, which, you know, we had a holiday week, but I do want to recognize everybody's participation for the week. So on the accident side, we had Cody, Dominic, and Patrick. Outstanding job, all 3 of you. Limited med, we had Kent and Katya this last week. And on the short-term side, Katya, again, you're out there just killing it on a daily basis. Really, really proud of everybody. And Arent and Glenn on the short-term side, excellent work to both of you. On the Medicare team, again, I am seeing some tremendous numbers being put up on the board. Tamala, Alexandra, and Michael out there just killing it. And then, of course, this week, the most current week, we got the week of 114 through 120. So just the end of last week is always about a week delayed, of course. But on the accident side, again, Cody, Shams, and Kent, you guys are out there just pushing some really, really big numbers out there. I'm super proud of all of you on this side. On the limited med side, Kent, Daniel, Christine, you guys are out there doing an amazing job. Richard, Jessica, and Mark, short term, excellent, excellent. And again, on the Medicare side here, Heather, Jeannie, and Caleb, you guys have put up some numbers that I'm awestruck when I'm actually looking at the boards each week. So congratulations to all of our sales leaders for the prior week and then the week prior to that as well. You guys have been doing an amazing job, especially, you know, to close out the end of the 2018 season, coming into the 2019 season. The amounts of numbers that I'm seeing put up on the board are tremendous. So everybody, you know, a round of applause to everybody that's out there. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's sales technique. So as I mentioned, you know, there's been a lot of question out in the market, you know, and one of the biggest questions that I get on my side here, especially because I focus a lot on Medicare, is, you know, what's the difference between a Medicare supplement and an Advantage plan, or a Medicare Advantage PDP prescription drug plan? I mean, what is this supplement? And I mean, where does it really kind of fit into the whole Medicare puzzle? So that's what we're going to kind of look at first here. What is a Medicare supplement in general? So, you know, the Medicare product in and of itself, if you take a look at the diagram that I have set up here, it's a pretty intensive product. I mean, you've got Part A, B, C, D, you've got E, you know, as far as, you know, what some people like to even call like E as far as the enrollments, but, you know, you've got your Medigap plans as kind of this outside product that really kind of doesn't really fit into the puzzle anywhere. And you're, well, where does this Medigap or where does this Medicare supplement insurance plan go? Where does it fill in? So what it really does is, if you kind of think about it in that aspect, that's what it does, is it does just fill in those gaps. So if you're familiar with the Medicare plan itself, original Medicare, Medicare itself gives you hospital visits, it gives you doctor's care. But just like standard insurance, there's things like copays, there's things like coinsurance. And really, when you're in that age bracket of 65 or over, or even if you're on a disability payment, where do you get those funds to pay those co-payments or those co-insurance costs? And that's exactly where the Medicare supplement plan comes into play. So a Medicare supplement insurance Medigap policy will help pay those healthcare costs that original Medicare doesn't cover. Like I said, it'll pay those co-payments, those co-insurance, those deductibles that you have every year. The Medigap policies are sold by private companies, so this is something that they can actually choose which direction they'd like to go. Now, the thing to remember, though, is that some Medigap policies can also cover services that original Medicare doesn't cover, like medical care outside the U.S. And when we look at the policy that we're going to take a look at today for the product from NATJen, you'll actually see that some of the additional coverages that the Medicare and the Medigap policy actually covers is going to allow you to travel outside the US and have a little bit of coverage. I don't know about you, but my grandparents and even my parents now that are over 65, they love to travel. They're traveling a lot. Just to have that little bit of an extra protection when they leave the US, it's amazing. So if they have original Medicare and they buy a Medigap policy, basically what's going to happen is this. Medicare will pay its share of the Medicare approved amounts for the covered healthcare costs, and then the Medigap policy jumps on in and pays that remainder share. So the things to know about Medigap policies, there's the big 8 that I like to really kind of focus on. The first requirement is that they must have Medicare Part A and B. So what this means is that they need to be on original Medicare. If you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, that Medicare Advantage plan is already going to be taking care of that. There's going to be portions of that that are going to be required, so they wouldn't qualify. So this is strictly for original Medicare enrollees only. Again, and like I mentioned, a Medigap policy is different from a Medicare Advantage plan. Those plans are ways to get Medicare benefits, while the Medigap policy is really only a supplement to the original Medicare benefit itself. Again, it pays those supplements as far as the co-payments, the co-insurance are concerned. And then what you do then at that point is you then pay that private insurance company a monthly premium for that policy. You pay the premium in addition to the Part B premium that they pay to Medicare. So that Part B premium amount that they're paying out of their Social Security check each month, they're going to have an additional amount that they pay for private insurance for this Medigap policy to cover those co-pays and co-insurance costs. Now, the cost of the Medigap policy is very inexpensive compared to the cost that they could be paying out of pocket. So it's super important to really kind of highlight that and why the product's going to be really beneficial to them. Something else to remember out of the big 8 is that the Medigap policy only covers one person at a time. So if you and your spouse both want Medigap coverage, they'll each have to buy separate policies. Something else is that you can buy a Medigap policy from any insurance company that's licensed in the state to sell it. And any standard Medigap policy is a guaranteed renewable, even if you have health problems. That's what's nice about this. Basically means that the insurance company can't cancel the policy as long as you continue to pay your premiums, right? So you continue to pay those premiums regardless of their health issues or whatever's going on, guaranteed renewable. Some policies sold in the past do cover prescription drugs, but policies sold after January 1st, 2016 aren't allowed to include those. If they do want drug coverage, they'll have to join a Part D plan. So that's when the big piece of the puzzle comes into play to kind of make the Medicare puzzle fit together in one piece. You got A, B, and D to cover original Medicare, your healthcare costs, your drug costs, and then of course you've got the Medigap policy to complete the rest of the puzzle to fill in all those co-pays and co-insurance costs. So the people that were prior to January 1st, 2026 have all been grandfathered in if they're still allowed or if they're still enrolled in those plans. A lot of those have been changing over the years, but anything after January 1st wouldn't include any prescription drugs per the new CMS laws. And lastly, but not leastly, it is illegal for anyone to sell you a Medigap policy if you have Medicare Advantage. So again, you have Medicare Advantage, unfortunately Medigap is not going to be something that's included in that. These supplement policies are really for only original Medicare. Now, if they want the supplement policy, if they're looking at their Medicare Advantage plan, they go, hey, all these costs are just killing me. I really think that I'd be benefiting a lot better from original Medicare. That's going to be an amazing opportunity for them to utilize this open enrollment period to disenroll, go back to original Medicare, and then purchase that Medigap policy. So again, what the main thing to remember here is if you're doing right by your client and you're doing those needs analysis and those proper needs verifications at the beginning of the sales process, you're going to line them up for the plan that they need. And if they do need original Medicare, if that's going to work better for them cost-wise, health-wise, health need-wise, this gap policy is going to be something that is going to be really important to them to use. So, important things to remember here about supplements. Medigap policies don't cover everything. The policies generally don't cover things like long-term care, vision or dental care, hearing aids, eyeglasses, private duty nursing. Really, it's just a supplement to pay those gaps from original Medicare of what it doesn't cover. So insurance plans that aren't Medigap, some things to remember here. Some of the insurance plans that aren't Medigap include things like those Medicare Advantage plans, which are, they break down into the HMO, the PPO category, the PFFSSP category, Part D, PDP plans, Medicaid, things like TRICARE that I'm on personally, or veterans benefits if you're a member of the military. Those are not considered Medigap plans. Anything that's a long-term insurance policy, or anybody that's like a part of an Indian Health Service, tribal or urban Indian health plans, aren't considered Medigap. So really, how can they benefit your client? Well, let's take a look and see here. So looking here at the National General product, take a look at the way that this works. So let's say that they're on original Medicare and they've got to go into the hospital and, unfortunately they've suffered an injury and something's happening. They get into the hospital and you've got that deductible that's paid up front. Take a look at this, bam, that deductible gone. Medigap takes care of that. Now, if they have to get, confined to the hospital for any period of time after that, the first 60 days of the hospital confinement, Medicare is going to pay 100% of that after the deductible, but there is daily cost. That deductible is taken care of by that $1364 payment. But if they go over those 60 days, that's when they're looking at a daily cost rate of, up to $340 or more per day. But take a look at this. The gap policy jumps right on in, takes care of all of that. And even after day 90, it even takes care of it as well too. So then extended hospital coverage up to an additional 365 days, 100% of Medicare eligible expenses are paid. So literally, if you think about it, if somebody goes into the hospital on original Medicare with a Medigap policy already taking care of it, they could feasibly pay zero out of pocket if this gap policy will cover them if they have an extended hospital stay. So, even the first 3 pints of blood are covered under this aspect because original Medicare doesn't pay for that. That blood's taken care of. Say that they have to go into a skilled nursing facility after that. Those first 20 days, Medicare is going to be paying for that at 100%. But, if they have any time after that, there's going to be an amount that they have to pay per day for those skilled nursing care facilities. But look across the board here. Totally taken care of by the gap plan. So, in essence, if you really kind of get down to brass tacks of this gap policy, anything that's going to be paid out of pocket, there'd be no reason why this plan really shouldn't sell itself, especially the NATJen plan. It's an amazing plan. That's why I'm always throwing this out here as a really good example of a product that you can really highlight, which makes it really easy for everybody to get to Cabo, right? So if they're on original Medicare, if they don't have a supplement insurance, this should be something that's just going to be automatically discussed because it's in their best interest to do so. So, even on outpatient side, and this is what we're talking about for your doctor's visits. You go into the doctor, you're going to have those co-pays, you're going to have those co-insurance. The Medicare Part B deductible, that $185 Medicare Part B deductible paid for if you're on the Plan F plan, 100% paid for, and that's fine. So in that aspect, then you've got your co-insurance. So what that means is that on the original Medicare, there's a pretty standard 80-20 co-insurance. 80% of that's going to be paid for by the Medicare, as long as they're approved charges, of course, after that deductible is paid. And then the client's left with 20%. 20%, you get into a doctor's office visit, depending upon the type of care that's being done on that outpatient basis, that could be a really good chunk of change. But you get this gap policy, bam, that 20% done, taken care of, gone, not even a problem. And then again, those first 3 pints of blood are paid for. And like I mentioned before, there's even those additional benefits of emergency care received outside the US. Now, there is a $250 deductible per se that you would pay for per calendar year, then the plan's going to pay 80% of those costs. But regardless that it doesn't pay even 100% of it, even 80% of anything out of the country, that's an amazing benefit. Up to $50,000 a lifetime max. That's a really good benefit if you're traveling just kind of somewhat semi-regularly to just kind of have in your back pocket as kind of like a safety, right? Really, really good benefits to the clients. So again, you know, the product really sells itself. You know, they have a flexibility to see any doctor or go to any hospital they want. The other thing though is if they do need to have multiple policies, since again, each individual does have to purchase their own policy. So if you live with at least one, but no more than 3 other adults who are age 50 or older for the past year, they're eligible for a discount of 7% for the premium for this NATJen product. Great, right? Then they also, on top of that, get a 30-day free look with it. So if they're not satisfied with the stuff, they can return it within 30 days and they're going to refund the premiums that are paid. So I mean, that right there, no risk at all. They don't like it, that's fine. They can get rid of it. They'll be refunded for the premiums paid within 30 days. It's guaranteed, like I said, guaranteed renewable. There's no waiting period. They're eligible for the benefits the first time the policy's in force, and there's no paperwork to file. All that they really have to do is present their ID card at the time of service, and the benefits are paid directly to the doctor or hospital. So nothing paid out of pocket up front. They have that copay that they might have to pay. Nope, done, taken care of. It's done. Co-insurance paid for. Again, remember, it doesn't provide any standalone coverage, and there aren't really any PDP benefits or vision or care, and it'll never really duplicate any benefit paid by Medicare, but the benefits that it does pay are going to benefit your clients tenfold in the end. So the small premium price that it takes to pay for the NATJen policy, for that sub policy, it's going to benefit them, like I said, tenfold in the end in regards to anything that they're going to pay out of pocket. So that's our sales technique for the week. If you have any questions, if you have any comments about today's broadcast, and again, also remember, you can always go back into the training library. You can look up this Motivation Monday. You can look up prior Motivation Mondays. Go look up those product trainings and those sales technique trainings. Take a look at that. But if you have any questions, reach out to me at training@ahcpsales.com, or again, you can call the amazing people upstairs at the 877 number that's there. And I really thank everybody for joining me today. So last point as far as today's quote of the day, well, the second quote, let's say, is that remember, 90% of selling is conviction, 10% is persuasion. So if you have conviction, if you know the product and you know that it's going to benefit them, it can sell itself if you are positive and convicted about the product. Persuasion really doesn't have much to do with it. I mean, this isn't back in the day where we need to really kind of talk them into buying the car. The car sells itself. And that's the main thing to remember. So again, thanks for joining us today. I love the time that we spend every Monday. Everybody get out there and just kick it for the rest of the week. If you have any questions, reach out to me. All right, cheers, everybody.